We're live, pal. Rutro.
I have a feeling that we are live. Dave, this was all a setup.
This is it. Dave's still
Dude, as
tongue's
soon
out to dry.
are we still live? Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, that's okay. Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. It said, well, hey, everybody, welcome into this edition of Game Gone Wrong. Things are going wrong already, and they've been going wrong for quite a while for me. But no one cares about that because DJ is shirtless today, as advertised and promised. He
Hold on,
is
I get a
shirtless.
proper one. Oh man, why can't I whistle anymore? There you go, close
Yeah. Anyhow, it is this latest edition of Game Gone Wrong, as we are going to be here and we are going to recap for you guys the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms here for you. Yeah, off to a little bit of an odd start there, as YouTube or Riverside told me that I can't stream to X, and I'm like, no shit. And we're not going to get into all the reasons why I can't stream to X right now. We'll stay tuned for a separate video explaining why my X account got hacked and why X's customer service absolutely sucks to steal from The Rock. But, you know, we won't get into that because no one wants to hear about that. They want to hear about the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. First, let me welcome into the show the one and only, the shirtless one himself, the man who came through on his promise, did some push-ups. Look at that. Look at that ripped. I mean, your problem is your immaculate beard is like, it's almost covering up your pectoral development, Deej. I'm just, you know.
It is the beard. It's like there's beard development, there's chest development, and you can't see any of it because of the beard development.
I mean, sacrifices have to be made, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I look at this thing. It just, certain things have to be sacrificed as far
I
as.
don't know, dude. The muscles are only going to last so long. This beard is going to be forever. Eventually, I'm going to become an old man, and all I'll have
That's
is the
true.
beard.
That's true. That's true. You will have the beard. That'll persist with you. Also welcoming into the show the man, the myth, the legend, the man of all things chair shot related, the glue that's holding this whole thing together, the one and only PC Tunney, who I need to thank profusely for trying his best to help resolve this stupid X situation. But thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
outside of the chair shot tiny bubble, I have little power, Dave.
Not much reach. I know. That's what she said. Not much reach, but
But I had a couple 280, 285 carries this afternoon at the simulator, so I was reaching there.
okay. That's good. I thought you said you had a couple 285s bowling today, and Patrick would have been
Oh,
upset about that. He would have been jealous. But
I have 289 in my high.
um, all I'm going to say about my situation is I am going to post a video on the YouTube channel to anybody
Dave's,
wondering
Dave's
why
been
the.
suspended because he's impersonating cryptocurrency people. So
I
it's
guess
Dave's
so,
fault.
man.
He's being a
Like,
real jerk about it. He's
dude,
taunting with flashy cars. He's
that was
letting
the
everybody know
aspect
how
of
poor they are.
that was the aspect of the whole thing that I was most depressed about. Is that God? I wish that part was true. That I
I
actually
wanted
used crypto to buy a
to,
Mercedes and a new home.
I
That would have been
wanted to,
cool.
I want to text you, nice new
Fuck.
car.
Thanks. Yeah, that part would have been cool if it was remotely true, but it wasn't. And on top of that, I'm fighting. I don't know if it's a cold or allergies or both. Probably both, but no one cares about that. But I am going to do something to explain to the people who want to know what has happened with the X account. It's a clusterfuck. That's all I can say, guys. And Tony and DJ know a little bit about it, and it's like it's kind of mind numbing at this point, but we won't get into that. But we are going to talk about, though, is the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which came out last week, about 6 days ago, right now. And before we get into it, guys, your overall thoughts about the season finale. I'm going to say that, I thought it was a good episode. They kind of jumped the shark a little bit in episode 5, and so coming back for this episode was to be expected. It wasn't going to be the action-packed extravaganza that 5 was, but I thought it was a good way to end the season. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, it was a nice wrap up, right? I mean, Game of Thrones throughout their universe, whether it is Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, which we're super excited when that returns in June, but they use that last episode of a season especially if it's not even sometimes when it is the finale of the entire show, to kind of bring stuff together, set you up for the next season, get you excited for the next season, and I think they did all of that. It was appropriately named, wasn't it? The Morrow. Wasn't that
The
name of
Morrow. The Morrow.
What a
I
perfect
think.
name for the episode. And a lot of cool things happened. I can't wait to get into all the stuff.
Yeah,
That's kind of my
The Morrow.
overall arcing thoughts on this final episode. And good grief, guys, what a debut season for a total, like, I didn't have a lot of expectations, and they just blew me away.
It was an excellent first season. I will say that, as we'll probably summarize it at the end a little bit more. But Deej, what do you think of the season finale, man?
Thought it was excellent. I don't think jumping the shark was a good reference, because if you think what jumping the shark means, it means they completely shit the bed on the entire series, and it's going to wrap itself up by the end of next. I don't think they did that.
Well, I didn't mean that. That's
I know what you meant, but that's either way. When we talked last episode, I think either one of us, it may have been me, I don't remember who, kind of likened the fifth episode 5 to the Long Night from Game of Thrones. And then I think I said that the episode after the Long Night was kind of like a breath after this just intense episode. And I think there were similarities between episode 6, the season finale of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and that episode after the Long Night. They're tying everything up. There are some storylines that are finally either crossing over or wrapping up, and they're preparing you for what's to come next. In this case, it's season 2, whereas in Game of Thrones, it was for the eventual series finale. There are a lot of similarities here between the two. And this was, because my girlfriend came in and she was watching over my shoulder, and there was a lot of juxtaposition, a lot of story, a lot of regret from a lot of people in this episode. I think regret is the overall overarching theme of this episode. And she's watching this like, is this the finale? And her tone was, this is a little slow. And yeah, by comparison to the last 2 episodes, it was very slow, but it was also that kind of, oh, God, after that. So yeah, I thought it was incredible. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it had to be slow after what we just went through. That
Yes.
was to be expected,
It
and
was
you
an
know we weren't
emotional
gonna,
high, and we came down off the high, and now we're finishing the ride. This is like the last, 10 seconds of the roller coaster ride.
right. I mean, it's to be expected. You weren't going to get the same sort of, with one episode left and most of the questions answered in the last episode, you weren't going to get that sort of hair on fire sort of episode, and that's fine. I didn't have an issue with that at all. So the episode kind of picks up after we had this brutal trial of 7. Dunk's really badly wounded. And he's really struggling with the fallout from Baelor's death and that sort of thing. And a lot of the episode is really Dunk dealing with that, and feeling all that guilt about Baelor getting killed, and everybody else around him reminding him, hey, we put our ass on the line too, pal. What about us? And, don't forget who we did, especially Lionel Baratheon, who is like, and I love like the Maester's trying to like help Dunk out, and he's kind of like giving him a death sentence and that sort of thing. And he's like, oh, this is beyond my abilities. And Lionel's like, an itchy arsehole is beyond your abilities. So, I thought that was a great line that he said there. But, in the early part of this episode, it is Dunk really wrestling with the guilt that he feels over what happened to Baelor. And everybody else kind of trying to remind him that, hey, we were there too. Well, people died. Dunk finds out that some people died for him that he didn't really know about ahead of time. And, you get that revelation as well. So there's a lot of that going on. So Deej, what do you think about the opening parts of the episode with Dunk kind of going through this whole, he's very, very badly hurt, obviously. He gets on the mend a little bit more as the episode moves along, showing a lot of recuperative abilities. But, he's really dealing with his own sense of guilt and remorse and regret. As you mentioned, this episode has a lot of regret. And he's dealing with all that and trying and kind of like, I don't say he's ignoring other people, but maybe just not really zeroing in on the fact that, hey, other people sacrificed a lot for you too, pal.
Yeah, he's not looking at the bigger picture. Like, he's holding so much guilt because, again, remember, he was going to be part of whatever was a bigger picture. And, Lionel reminds him, hey, pal, there were other people there too. And I read something on the account Dave's locked out of, the actor that portrays Lionel did say that he does not anticipate being in season 2 because he's not really in the books for the foreseeable future. Which is depressing because I really like that character. I think he's such a great addition to the show. And like I said, Dave, you've read the graphic novel, so you
Well,
probably know a little bit.
I mean, and not to cut you off, Teach, but he asked Dunk to join him in this coming
Yes,
war,
he
and
does.
Dunk says no,
Right.
because he's dealing with all of this guilt and remorse and regret, like you're saying, not regrets like the commercial, but regret, and that's overpowering the fact that he probably should jump in there with Lionel, who has jumped in for him, and
Right. But it
What about
leaves
the
it
Jason
open for.
Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston movie where the boyfriend has Rugrats on it, on his neck,
oh,
tattoo, and he asks him, "Do you have any regrets? Any at all? Not even a
But-
letter?" Anyway,
It's funny.
sorry.
No, but it leaves it open for him to come back because you hope eventually him and Dunk are going to reconnect and maybe this goes somewhere. So it's neat that they were able, if he's not necessary in season 2, they can write him off for the time being, but leaving that door open for him to come back because between the actor and the character, incredible.
Tony, what do you think of the beginning of the episode with Dunk going through all of the emotional machinations of what has transpired, the guilt, the regret, and all that sort of stuff that he's dealing with, and kind of telling Lionel thanks but no thanks, man.
It's not like this isn't as like bad as you think it is. We're like, what is this, the next day? I mean,
It's a day or two, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it would take some time to get over something like this, and obviously the biggest loss of the entire thing was the person that was going to be the ruler of the seven kingdoms, or the nine, as we're about to find out, which really blew some people away.
Well, that's
But
why
yeah,
the title of this live stream is A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms.
Right.
So
And the show may very well be might be the name moving forward. But
really, it's like the Big Four going to the Big Five, right?
hey, I mean, life imitating art. What can you
Everything is wrestling.
say? Everything.
That's true.
Everything's stolen from Steve
That's
Allen.
true.
I love the part with the Maester in the beginning with Lionel Baratheon. Even like as he's walking away, he's like, don't worry about him. He's a shitty Maester. He sucks. Like just like
Right.
he's the best. Give me the best you can. He couldn't help. Oh, he's shitty. Don't worry about that. But it's nice to see that he was wrong. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, an interesting open.
It really was, and I think when you're looking at this season finale, and like DJ says, regret is a big under or overarching thread going through here, but it's also Dunk's, and it's what's been going on the whole season, that sense of self-doubt that Dunk has had for the entire season, right? And he really doesn't get to the point where he's yes. So there you go. Ray's on here. Love me a shirtless oh yes, there you go. Ray, show me the cannelloni. Cannoli. Okay, yeah.
Cannoli.
Or if you're
Leave the
watching
gun. Leave the
Liberty
gun.
you're
Take the
watching the
cannoli.
If you're watching the Liberty Bibberty commercials, it's cannolis.
Okay. But like you're saying, it's Dunk. The whole season was about his self doubt and his sense: do I belong? Do I belong in this world? Do I belong in this sort of environment? And the finale really kind of comes full circle because he wrestles with that the entire, well, not the entire time, probably what, 3/4 of the episode he's really wrestling with the self doubt. And Dunk starts questioning, asking, why didn't you ever knight me? Asking Sir Arlen, why didn't you ever knight me? And that sort of thing. And it's a dream sequence, sort of, but I guess there's more to it. It could be a lucid dream, some sort of afterlife, sort of ghostly, I don't know, interchange, that sort of thing. I think the big thing about the show in this season that I read somewhere was that the show's talking about what it really means to be a knight, right? And what really matters about being a knight, which is your actions and your character and your morals and your ideals as far as like being a knight, and not just the pomp and circumstance in the ceremony of somebody touching a sword to both shoulders, right? So Dunk wrestles with this whole notion of, well, why didn't you ever knight me? And he starts to question, am I really a knight? But at the end of the day, it's like everything that he did shows that he's more worthy of a knight than Arion would ever fucking be, who was knighted by his father and all that sort of stuff. So Tony, what do you think about that? I mean, is there something to that, that there's more to being a knight than just this kind of ceremonial passing of the torch that Sir Arlen never really gave Dunk, but he probably really doesn't need to at the end of the day, right?
Well, I mean, Baylor's death, that's why it's so taxing on Duncan, because the only reason he wasn't just completely sentenced to death is because he made 7, because Baylor believed in what he had done was the right thing and believed that was more important than, you know, beating up a prince. It's what she did, right? So that's the interesting part. I mean, it is a story of valor. I'm interested to see how they're going to tell it moving forward. I think the next season or seasons, we'll see if how long they're using each book. But the next book they're adapting from is the Sworn Sword. So we'll see what happens there.
Right, the sworn sword, which is a mouthful to say. We'll
Ray,
talk about that.
AKA Crystal Ball, we're going to need you to settle down over there.
Yeah. Does Dunk like donuts? The people don't need to know, Ray. The doctor doesn't need to know about that.
If you want to hear a story about donuts, go back and listen to DWI 510 from this past week on Chairshot Radio Network. There you go. That's a true story.
Deej, your thoughts on this whole notion of knighthood and all that sort of stuff?
I thought it was interesting. As you know, one of the overarching themes of this episode was regret. The other overarching theme, as we find out in the very end of the episode, there's some lying ass motherfuckers on this show. You know, Dunk has been lying about the fact that he was knighted for, 5 episodes, an entire season, and come to find out he was never actually knighted. I loved the scene though, where the guy's like telling the story, and then like Dunk asks him, "Why did you never knight me?" And then the guy just like dies. Okay, yeah. This is where Tina was watching, and she's like, "Oh shit, he died." And then he keeps telling the story. He like wakes back up. And he's like,
he wakes up and goes, "A good night never finishes finishing a story."
He always finishes a story. Again, everything is wrestling, and that clicks in Dunk's mind. Finish the story. Suddenly Dunk.
It's all wrestling, right, DJ? It really is. It's all wrestling. Finish the story. God damn it!
Story, Dunk.
It really is. Everything comes back to wrestling. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
And that's when Dunk decides that he's going to go have Egg as his squire.
Right, and that's and we also have to remember that there's a big, the whole thing with Dunk, where Prince Maekar requests Dunk's audience, right? And Dunk goes to meet Prince Maekar, and I thought Dunk would be a little bit more like, reserved with Maekar, maybe even a little, I guess, conciliatory might be a good word for it. But he's really not in this scene. He stands up to Maekar and basically calls him out for killing his own brother. It's like, it was your blow that felled him. Your blow was the one that killed him. Maekar's obviously living with the guilt about that. He kind of suggests it was an accident or insinuates that, but we know that that's not really what happened, because it was a fight to the death. And this is a major turning point for the Targaryen family and the realm. And did you guys notice this is the first time forget who Dunk's talking to, but it's the first time that you really get the acknowledgement that there's something in the Targaryen blood that leads to madness. And one of them says that in this episode, don't they?
He's talking to the drunkard at the bar.
Yeah, what's his name? Darian?
I forget his name, but he's talking to my brother wasn't always like this. So
right.
There was a time when he was of his right mind and he liked to fish.
Yeah,
that's important. That's key. That's a key bit of dialogue that we probably need to, just remember.
Right.
As
and
we go along.
Dunk initially thinks he's talking about Egg, and Daron is like, "No, I'm not talking about Egg. I'm talking about my other brother. Yeah, my other brother, my brother from another mother, sort of thing. Well, that same mother, but
so that's an important piece of dialogue.
It is. And it's during this whole thing where, like you're saying, Deej, Maekar goes to Dunk and he makes him the offer that, Egg has taken, Aegon, or Egg, whatever you want to call him, has taken a liking to you. He wants him to be a squire. He wants him to go to, what is it, Somerset? Is that what the name of the The castle is
Wherever it is, it's under Targaryen control, basically.
Yeah,
It is
kind of
it-
like
It's a comfy
military
reform
camp
school for Egg, is
them.
more or less.
Yeah.
right, and
He
it's
said he was
where
going to send Arya far away.
Yes.
right, and he says you go here, you'll train Aegon, you'll finish your own training as a knight. So Makar's basically saying, I'm going to turn you into a real knight. And Dunk is like, well, that worked out so well for your other son, didn't it? And he's like, no, I can't do that. I don't. And he basically says, I'm done with princes, and that's how we leave. That scene with Dunk basically declining Makar's offer, saying, I'm done with princes, and walking away from this whole thing. But a lot of important stuff happens in this scene, Deej, because it is Dunk calling Makar out for being the one who killed his brother, not backing down, not just kissing the ring. Dunk's done kissing the ring. I'm done with princes and kings, basically. And he's like, I'm done kissing the ring, and you did this, and no, I don't want to do anything that's going to turn me into a snot-nosed little shit like your other son. So thanks, but no thanks.
Well, Dunk has nothing left to lose but his life. And at this point, at where he's at emotionally, when you think back to the last episode, the love of his life, his master is gone. The one man that he was going to pledge his allegiance to is like, all these people keep dying in his periphery. And he's like, fuck it. What are you going to do? Kill me? Oh, no. Like, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen to me? I'm not going to just kiss the ring. And he goes and he basically lays into him. And Makar's like, he's like, yeah, but you still accepted the fight. And at the end of the day, he could have declined the fight. And that's what people will remember. Before they'll remember that Makar struck the killing blow. Is basically what Makar tells him.
Yeah, exactly. Ray, it's always good when you get Ray in the.
Ray's a mess, man. We love that brother.
Yeah, we love Ray. It's not nosed little shit. That's right. This is top notch podcasting here, folks. You can ban my account, but you can't stop my great analysis, right, guys?
That's right.
Tony, why don't you give me some better analysis than my own shitty takes on this situation and your thoughts about this initial conversation? Because we're going to come back to these two having a much more impactful conversation in just a few minutes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here or not.
Jump away.
Because I watched this, like almost a week ago. But anyway, I was going to reference the part of the conversation where they both kind of agreed that for the rest of their lives, they were both going to hear whispers, right? About different things that could have been, that's going to haunt them no matter what they do. Sometimes those whispers are going to seem like someone screaming inside their head, and sometimes they'll be so faint that you'll be able to ignore them for, an hour, a day, or a week or whatever, but they'll always be there. I think it's interesting that, and I'll leave it at here, and you can go where you were going to go, Dave, because I'm not quite sure. I don't exactly remember the exact arc of the entire episode, but
yeah, there's like a little thing in between that we'll talk about. But
at
go
some
ahead.
point, Egg and Dunk are sitting on a bench right outside after the meeting, and Dunk asks him, "Were you spying?" And Egg says no. And right there, that was big for me to know that in no way, shape, or form at any point will Egg ever be done not trying to pass his own truth over the actual truth.
Liars. I told you.
Liars.
I don't know if
Didn't
it's
he-
a
didn't he say
liar,
something
but
like- didn't he
he's
say he-
loyal and he's going to be a king. So at some point, it's not lying; it's making it the winners write the storybooks. That's the position he's in.
Right. Didn't he say he wasn't spying, he was eavesdropping or something like that?
No, he just said no, and then there was nothing else said, and Dunk
Yeah.
was like, okay, and Dunk kind of told him what he said, because if he wasn't, he didn't know that he had declined.
Right. In between this stuff happening, though, we get the scene where Raymond has got himself a wife, I guess,
Oh, yeah.
overnight.
Wasn't that one of the girls that was rude to Duncan in the earlier episodes, though?
I think
Yeah,
so.
she's one of the prostitutes.
Yeah.
Violence turns me on, apparently, and
Smart enough
not
to
only
find a meal ticket, though.
yeah, not only do they get married, but she's already pregnant. I'm like, boy, that was fast. They work quick around here. And
Well, you can see Dunk has a look at his face, and he immediately just lets it go so that Raymond can be happy.
Yeah,
It's clearly not his.
you alluded with Dunk's quick healing, like Wolverine-esque healing powers. There's points of the story that imply this particular episode takes place over a period of weeks. Like
It
you look
probably
at his
does.
healing and the progression. Like there's a
eye.
time lapse in this episode.
Yeah, his eye never comes back. It's still,
Well, it
gone,
gets to a
shut,
point where you
whatever.
can see he
It's
still has an
slightly
eye.
open. It's like the swelling is going down, and he's
Yeah.
not limping
He's
with
not
a
gonna-
cane, and
He's
not
not
gonna be a
Rocky.
one-eyed-
He's not Rocky Balboa. Let's get that
Right.
straight, right? Yeah. So
He's not going to be the one-eyed snake of the Nine Kingdoms.
the one-eyed viper. Oh no, that's a different movie. So yeah. But yeah, good for Raymond. You get yourself some. You earned it with that great performance on the field of battle and that sort of thing. But as this is going, and correct me, where does somehow along the way Dunk comes up with this idea, and he goes back to Makar. He says, "I'll take Egg on as my squire, but we're going to do it my way, which is to go on the road. We're gonna travel from town to town. I'll train him my own way. We'll live off the land. We'll figure things out on our own. None of this pampered bullshit. I'll turn him into a real man, that sort of thing." And Makar's like, he's the only son I have left, which is interesting because Arion is still alive. Now I got to ask you guys: was Egg going to kill his brother when he went in there with that dagger
Or was
near
he
the
gonna
end of
cut
the
his hair
episode?
off?
I don't know, because he at some point he's looking at himself in the mirror and his hair's starting to grow back a little bit, but then he grabs that dagger and he goes in to where Arion is recuperating, and it's Makar who comes up behind him and kind of and not Dunk, Egg is conflicted by this because there's tears in his eyes and all this other stuff, so he really doesn't. So it's kind of confusing as to, okay, what was he really going to do there? Was he gonna kill his brother? I don't know. But it's another side quest in this episode where, Egg is struggling with his own feelings of self-doubt as well, and maybe he's at that point thinking, I don't want to turn out like this. Somewhere along the way, he learns. Like you're saying, he heard the conversation between Dunk and Makar about the conditions that Makar wanted to have for Egg to be trained by Dunk. So he obviously had heard that, and he knows what the status of that is. So, Tony, let me go to you. Do you think that him hearing that conversation is kind of what motivated Egg to kind of at least contemplate this notion of killing his brother? I'm not sure that's what happened, but it seems
what Grok
like that's
thinks.
where Grok thinks. Well,
Grok thinks the reemergence of the silver hair beginning was enough to spur him so much so to want to murder his brother. Yeah, I think so, actually, because
Interesting.
the funny thing is like his father comes over and his father actually gives him a chance to basically, hey, if you're fast enough to get to him before I can get to you, you can kill him. Like, he didn't immediately just say anything or do anything, and then he came over and put his hand on his shoulders, and Egg, draws a tear and drops the blade.
Yeah.
I just think it goes to show the balls that Egg has on him. Honestly, like we know Egg is meant for I don't know if we spoiled it or gave you a better appreciation of how to watch what you're watching. If you watch the first episode of our series here, but Egg's meant for really big things.
He really is. Deej, what do you think about that? About was what was going on? Was Egg going to kill his brother there? It sure kind of seems that way.
I don't know. It was intentionally ambiguous, and I like that because again, they have the hair. He hates his family, and one of the things that he did when he talked about shaving his head in one of the earlier episodes, he told his brother, he's like, "I don't want to be like you," and he doesn't just mean I don't want to be like you. I don't want to look like you either. He doesn't want any connection to that lineage, that family, and that's why he ran away in the first place. And so he probably wanted to kill him, but I love that it was ambiguous because they had him touching the stubble of his hair, and that's the connection. Like, that was the first thing that Egg shed was his hair in an attempt to try and shed the Targaryen legacy, whatever that means to him. So very well done, and I like how they softened Makor just a little bit, because the first couple episodes you see him, he's an asshole. Like, and I think I said that earlier on in one of our earlier episodes that the guy's an asshole, but he's softening a bit. He's, his brother is dead at his hands. One of his sons is being sent away. The other one's a drunk, and one of them keeps running away from home. So as a father, he's broken.
there's been a lot of trauma in
Yeah.
these 6 episodes that has been inflicted directly on him. Like you're saying, he killed his brother. One of his sons is a drunk. The other one, like you're saying, he's not only sent away, but he may not survive. There's still
Right.
that's still up in the air at this point. So there's a lot of that going on. I was wondering, do you guys think like Egg had some resentment, even more resentment toward Arion because he knows that's why Dunk's not agreeing to this because Dunk doesn't want to turn out like Arion or doesn't want
maybe
Egg to turn out like Arion?
That's maybe just seeing his hair come back is like, man, I hate him so much even more now because Dunk doesn't want to be with me because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
reasonable. That's a reasonable thought.
Yeah. And
Just like
honest,
like just a little side thing, like let's be completely honest, like for almost no reason at all. Because think back, their first interaction is in the stable. Egg is completely infatuated with Dunk, and maybe it's because of his size, and you can just feel his gentle soul, right? Like he knew he wasn't dealing with someone that was going to treat him poorly, even though their first encounter was brief. So Egg is completely infatuated with Dunk, like huge man crush, right?
Hmm.
like my man crush for DJ, not wearing a shirt right
Well,
now.
how can you not? I mean, look at this guy. Oh my God.
Sorry, Henry, you've been replaced, baby.
Good thing this broadcast is from the waist up. Let me tell you.
I am not Winnie the Poohing it. Trust me.
Oh, quit the
Oh, now I'm disappointed. I was fading it earlier. Now I seriously am disappointed.
The ladies would love to see your Eeyore.
I've got a cat that wanders in and out of the room. I don't need him playing with the danglings.
Yeah.
Cat
Hey, look at
scratch
the.
It's not a scratching post.
So at the end of this episode, as Dunk is leaving, Egg basically jumps over the fence, says, "Hey, I'm here." My father basically said, I don't even know if he says
He does.
that his
He said,
father.
my father said I'm to squire for you, which
Yes.
is like, okay. And Dunk could lead to see that he had changed his mind and that his words had resonated with Makar, right? Like, hey, maybe this is
Sure.
okay. He'll find
Yes.
his way back. So Dunk doesn't really hesitate with it. But
Right.
my whole thing is, let's go back to what I said before. Egg couldn't even tell the truth on the bench when there were zero consequences whether he was spying or not. They were sitting in his chambers of his family. Dunk wasn't going to do anything to him. He was scared he was scared to disappoint Dunk, and that's part of what he sees there.
And I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with you, but do you think Dunk knew that he was full of shit and he just didn't care at that point?
No, I think Dunk believed him. I think Dunk thought that his words had resonated with Makar because of the way that his words had already resonated with Baelor. And the encounters he had with Makar is probably one of the smartest Targaryens ever. The guy has just been in the positions he's been in and had to do the things he's had to do, right? I'm sure he doesn't love the fact who his son was. I'm sure he obviously said he doesn't love the fact that he killed his brother, right? Makar seems like a genuinely good person that's just a Targaryen having to do what he has to do.
Right. And we quickly find out at the end of the episode that Makar did not have a change of heart, that Egg has done what he has honestly done, what he's done the whole series, which is lie. I mean, and it's funny because it's like he's a good soul. He's a good person. You can't take that away from him, but he is a liar. And that has been established now for 6 episodes that he will lie his ass off to get what he wants, which, while we want to say, oh, he's above all this Targaryen bullshit, isn't that kind of Targaryen bullshit right there?
He's a Targaryen.
Well, he's prone to lying and bloodlust. Those are his two things.
Yeah. I mean, he does. I mean, it's not embedded in the veins like some of the Targaryens that we've seen in House of the Dragon or stuff that we'll see later on down the line.
He's not Daemon.
No, he's not Daemon, not yet. That sort of thing. But so the episode ends with them going down the path, and I guess it's the ghost of Arlen is riding along with them, and then deviates, goes left as Dunk and Egg go down the path, and that's where the season comes to an end. So before we get into speculation for season 2, Tony, let me go to you first. Your thoughts on how this episode ended up with Dunk and Egg on the road, Makar realizing that his son has bailed on him yet again, and these two, Batman and Robin, going off down the path of who knows where into next season.
you can't tell the story you told for 6 episodes and not have Dunk and Egg be together. That's basically
Absolutely.
what you're doing here is you're telling their story together, and through a series of novels they're going to adapt this story, and whatever they're doing, keep doing it. Whether you're going to change the pacing and have longer episodes because you want to just start with this shorter story, I don't know, but whatever they decide to do, I trust them in that fashion. I think Arlen taking a 90-degree turn and separating himself from the way that Dunk and Egg going is telling you that Dunk now considers himself a knight. He has a squire. He's no longer in Arlen's shadow. Arlen's voice is no longer in the back of his head all the time, but he was trained by him, so he'll always have those instincts, right? So I think that part of his life is over with. He's fully forward now as believing in himself as a knight. I love what we're seeing for next year. There's this impending threat, and then there's also this friction we're going to have between, Maekar trying to find Egg, or whenever they come around them, they're not knowing. Like, Duncan doesn't know, right? Maybe that's why Egg wanted to go somewhere they've never been. He wanted to get far away in the other direction, right? Because that's what happens there. And then after, when you're ready to move on, or when we're done or whatever, I have a cool little thing on how to explain the difference between why the 7 kingdoms are the 7 and what the 9 kingdoms are. When we get to that point, I got it ready.
Well, like at the end of the episode, right? Dunk questions. Everybody knows there's only 7 kingdoms, and then Egg rips off all 9 of them, and Dunk's like, "What the fuck?"
The best scene of acting is Duncan's literal amazement and befuddlement on his face being portrayed as he's realizing he's been lied to his whole life. Do you want me to give you the list real quick, the whole thing? So
Sure.
Before Aegon Targaryen conquered it and united everything, there was the Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of the Mountain and Vale, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach, the Kingdom of the Storm, which is the Stormlands, the Kingdom of the Isles and the Rivers, and the Principality of Dorne. So those were the 7 kingdoms. But now, after a few things were split, you have the Crownlands, the Westerlands, the Stormlands, that's 3, the Riverlands, the Iron Islands in the north, that's 6, the Reach, the Vale, and Dorne. That's 9.
That's 9.
So technically, Egg is correct.
Huh. You learn something new every day, as Dunk did. So, Deej, your thoughts on the end of the episode and the season finale here?
I thought it was great. I thought the episode tied a whole bunch of things together. I really think it cinched everything up in a nice, neat little bow, while also leaving things open for the future. Dunk is wanting to go to a place that we don't know a whole lot about, being not only, or not Dunk, Egg wants to go to a place that they don't know a whole lot about. And it's a place that Duncan knew nothing about prior to Egg saying something. And we, the viewer, have not visited these places. So we don't have to worry about the familiarity of anything. We can go to a whole new place in Westeros. And, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this.
DJ, I'm going to go right back to you to get your overall thoughts on the first season of A Night of the 7 Kingdoms.
Incredible. I thought each episode, as we have followed this on our show, first episode was like, what are we doing? Second episode was like, okay, let me ride this out. Third episode, I'm hooked. By the 4th and 5th episodes, I'm blown away. And by the 6th episode, yeah, I'm all in on this. Incredible writing, incredible pacing. I love how much they've been able to fit into these 30-minute episodes, and I kind of hope they stick to that format. Because there's times where I watch it and it's over, and it felt like I watched an hour-long show because of how much they were able to pack into an episode while simultaneously pacing it very well.
Yep. I gotta agree with that. Tunney, what are your thoughts on this first season of A Night of the 7 Kingdoms?
I guess showrunners have confirmed addressing season 2 plans for the runaway ending and moving into Dorne. So we'll see what happens there. I like I said, this was awesome. The way that they flipped the switch when they revealed. We kind of did some, hashtag journalism and address the novels, and you can do that if you'd like to. I thought it was a fun way to and kind of figure it out anyway, but man, they flipped the switch back into like a real Game of Thrones kind of series for 2 episodes, and then we had The Morrow, which is setting up what's going on, and it's a really cool Game of Thrones buddy series. And whether the pacing stays the same and they give us another 6 episode season with 35 minute episodes, or they go full out Game of Thrones, which the majority of from House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones is 8 to 10
An hour.
episodes,
An hour long.
45 to 53 minute episodes, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with either one. I trust the people that did this. The people that green-lighted the first season, green-lit a second season before the first season even premiered. Filming has already began this week on season 2, and House of the Dragon is going to be in June. Like, the Game of Thrones world franchise is just on fire right now, and that's appropriate for them. And hopefully we get what's west of Westeros before 2030.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't count out what's west or Westeros. That's for sure. But
They
let's
talked about it at least.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
let's before we cut out of here, let's speculate a little bit about season 2 because as you've mentioned, Tony, a few times, most indications are they're going to adapt the Sworn Sword. And I got to apologize to anybody listening. I'm sorry, I'm sniffling. It's allergies. It's something I don't know what it is. But they're going to adapt the Sworn Sword as the main driving force between for season 2. We know that season 2 is official. I think one thing for sure about season 2 is we're leaving Ashford. We're not going to be in Ashford anymore, which means that we're going to get a new supporting cast. And I'm okay with that, because we got to meet all these cool people in season 1. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. Lionel will be back somewhere. I think you're right, DJ, probably not for season 2, and that's okay. But we're going to get a new cast of characters. It's going to be, if they're going to adapt the Sworn Sword, and I don't want to do too many spoilery sort of things here because, if people have watched this show, and watched our podcast talking about it, they may want to go and read A Sworn Sword for themselves. It's, if they go in that direction, it's not going to be, like I said, it won't be an Ashford. It probably won't even be Targaryen centric. Although obviously Maekar's going to be looking for his son, so you're going to have to deal with that. The characters who come to prominence in the Sworn Sword are Sir Eustace Osgrey. He's one of the main ones. There's a dispute involving Lady Rohan Weber. And this is involving land and water rights and loyalty oaths and stuff from the Blackfire era.
Doesn't this feel like it's going to have the same pacing, though? Doesn't it feel like they're going to tell you another short story about these guys?
I think if they're going to go in the Sworn Sword direction, you may see a little bit of a shift towards more like Game of Thronesy sort of stuff, which what I mean by that is more the political aspect, because Game of Thrones was very politicized, and you had all the allegiances and all the politics and the backroom dealing and Littlefinger betraying everybody and their mother and the Red Wedding and all that sort of stuff. So I think if you're going to get into this Sworn Sword sort of story, and you're talking about a more local dispute between two very prominent personalities, I think it'll have more of that. I do agree with you, Tony. I think it's going to have the same sort of pacing. I don't know if we'll have that climactic Trial of Seven sort of battle. Obviously, they're going to have to do something because you can't just have you can't have 6 episodes of politics because we already have that in Washington, D.C. every week. Who needs that? So, go ahead, Tony.
Like the culmination of this story is the Red Widow and Duncan squaring off. So, I see almost the same exact type of arc, right?
Could be.
Yeah, like a new, here's a new chapter in the life of Duncan, which we just did, right? And Egg, right? A new chapter for them. They're in a place they don't know, same kind of thing. They end up befriending people they didn't know. They end up in a battle they didn't want. And there's a culmination of a huge end of the thing battle between Duncan and another person. This seems like the same exact formula. Everything's wrestling!
Yeah,
let's find a new bad guy for Duncan to go over on.
I mean, the main thing is
cute manager Egg, who's actually kind of dishonest, but we all love him anyway. Hey, this is fucking wrestling, guys.
Right. This isn't going to be about who gets the Iron Throne, like Game of Thrones. This is going to be more about
Well,
lines in
I
the
mean,
sand and loyalty and who's going to be on whose side and who is Dunk going to go. And we know, obviously, you kind of just gave it away. Thanks, Tony, that he's going to go against the Red Lady and that sort of thing.
well, I mean, just Google. Is it Google?
You
It's
gave
like a little
you gave away who Egg was in episode
Well,
1 of this, so it's
this
all
is
right.
about the Game of Thrones. The egg ends up on the Iron Throne, so this is a story of the Iron
That's true.
Throne.
That's true. That is very true. Deej, does all that sound interesting to you?
It sounds very interesting to me, and also, that sounds like a great core story, while the overarching theme of everything is still going to be Dunk in a cat and mouse game with his dad. Trying to avoid his father, trying to avoid being found.
Oh, you mean Egg?
That is
Or
a
Egg,
great.
that's what
That is a great way of
Duncan
thinking
Egg.
about it.
Ray Cash is onto something. These names are terrible. But no, Egg trying to play a cat and mouse game with his dad. So yeah, there's going to be several different things going on. A lot of plates spinning in the air on the second season. I haven't watched any of the post-episode stuff, so if they've teased anything, I am completely spitballing and speculating.
They
here, 'cause I haven't-
really
they-
didn't.
They couldn't have because filming just
They
started.
haven't filmed it yet, but
Yeah, they really didn't tease too much on like during the season. Tony, I know you
Well,
watched
here's what
the
we
end
know.
season
Here's
stuff.
what we know. The people that Dave mentioned, Sir Eustace, I
Eustace.
think, is who Dunk ends up fighting for because he can't because of whatever happened between the dispute. I think Sir Bennis is the hedge knight of Lady Rohan. So these three new characters, they've brought in some excellent actors from what I've heard, that some super heavy hitters to play these roles. So this is supposed to be just another knock it out of the park kind of thing. And I would bet maybe we get like 3 or 4 of these seasons where they're short stories told in 6 episodes, and then we get the 5th season is like a Game of Thrones where
Like
all
an
the characters
epic.
everybody comes back that's still alive,
It's
that ever
Endgame.
been against in 4. We get to
Yeah.
get to that part of
You
it.
just
And I
you just
can
had to
Dave's
encourage him,
intrigued.
DJ. You just had to encourage him, DJ. Way to go, yeah.
Ray, why don't you just be the 4th guy on this show if you're just gonna do that? You can just sit there and good God, just jump in.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some carryover from the first season. I think Dunk is still, at least for part of the season, is going to still wrestle with the whole notion of, am I really a knight and does it really matter? That sort of thing. I didn't have the formal knighthood. I didn't have the pomp and circumstance, and who gives a shit because
Do you
I
think
just
so?
survived the trial of 7.
I feel like Arlen splitting off was Duncan's consciousness realizing that he's an actual knight now. I don't think he's gonna
Probably.
wrestle
I
with
have
that
all the
anymore.
values. I have the skill. I'm a
I don't
knight.
think he's going to wrestle with whether or not he's a knight anymore. I really don't.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe we'll
Have
we'll
you
see
read
what
The
happens. I
Sworn
mean,
Sword?
I have read the Sworn Sword. He doesn't really, if I remember correctly, it wasn't really that. I mean, there's a little bit of that maybe at the very beginning, the first couple of episodes. I think things will ramp up pretty quickly in season 2. That if there is any lingering doubt that he has, it's going to be gone by necessity, sort of thing, pretty quickly. So I think that's kind of what will go on there.
Egg is pretty quick to squash all that as well. His confidence and his extreme belief in Dunk, and he's even before their bond as firm as it is now, he would try to squash any doubts that Dunk had by quickly dismissing them.
Yeah, I think the big thing for season 2 will be the evolution of I think DJ is right. You guys are both right. Makar's search for his son will obviously be an aspect of season 2 because we're not going to be able to escape that. But the evolution of the relationship between Dunk and Egg is going to be the important aspect of season 2 and how that evolves. Is this going to be like a true knight squire situation? Or at some point is Egg going to be like, dude, I know better than you because you don't even know there's 9 kingdoms. And, do we get any of that sort of conflict at some point?
How old is Egg when he takes the throne?
I don't know. Ask Grok since you still have access to him. So I don't know. What do you think, Deej? While Tony's looking that up, I mean, are we going to get this dynamic? Egg and Dunk's relationship certainly is going to evolve. Do we get any friction between them as we go along here with the squiring versus what Aegon actually knows is the way of the world?
I think you'll have some tension there. I think the real tension is going to come when Dunk realizes Egg lied to him again, and whether or not in my head they're telling in my head, I'm saying to myself, this is how they close out season 2. Makar finally catches up with them, and Dunk comes to the realization that Egg lied to him again. And I think in season 3 there may be a temporary splitting of the two. Like they may, go their separate. Early predictions on my part, but that's where I think they leave off season 2 is with the two of them splitting off because Egg lied to him, Dunk realizes it, and
They may have no choice. I mean, it may be a forced separation because Makar say, you are coming with me. Yeah. And when you've got Dunk facing the whole Kingsguard saying, no, he stays with me, and the whole Kingsguard saying, the whole Kingsguard saying bullshit. Yeah. The king is telling us to take. Yeah, it'd be like, all right,
I'll hand that bald little son of a bitch over. Here you go.
Yeah, shave his head. Take him with you. That sort of thing. I wouldn't be mad about that. But knowing the way this season went, they'll do that in episode 5, and then episode 6 will be something like, wait, what are we doing? They'll hug and make up. Yeah, we'll kiss and make up, that sort of thing. What do you got there, Tunney?
So here's an interesting thing to think about. How much of this story do they tell, and how quickly is it told? Because you could get these seasons a lot quicker with the necessity of needing to keep the actor playing Egg this young. Because from what I'm seeing, the novels or the novellas of the Hedge Knight of Dunk and Egg happen in about a 3-year span. From when Egg is 9 to 12 years old, he doesn't take the throne until he's 33. I don't know whether Dunk stays with him all the way to that, right? He doesn't take the throne until 33 after his father passes. Daeron and Arion are already dead, and Aemon refuses. Maester Aemon is his brother. So that's why he's Egg on the Unlikely. So it's interesting to see the pace at which these seasons will be put out by HBO, considering the age of the actor playing such an important character, right? Like, we can't be still trying to tell the story of 12-year-old Egg when this kid's 16 or 17 years old. It's not going to fucking work.
I think they're already filming season 2. It's right. Not set to air until like 27.
Right. And do you think like they just go ahead and film season 3 and 4 or however many seasons they really think about before like the end of this calendar year maybe, or next calendar year?
Teddy, if you're committed to 4 seasons?
I don't know if they've committed past 2, but if greenlit these already, I would imagine there's at least a third. Yeah. I mean, 5 would be interesting. 4 short stories and that big, kind of.
See, DJ, Tunney's never watched Stranger Things. Tunney's never watched Stranger Things. So at some point, you do get to that break-even point where the kids are aging out of their roles a little bit too quickly.
We don't need a that's not my Becky scenario, okay, here, Dave. We don't need a Liam Hemsworth kind of bullshit. We don't need to bring in another Webster. We don't need any of that crap, okay?
What the hell is he talking about?
I have no idea.
Child actors.
Oh. I'm just trying to shame you into watching Stranger Things, maybe Walking Dead one of these days, Maybe Lord of the Rings. That'd be a good place to start. Yeah.
I've tried watching Lord of the Rings like 5 times. I can't get.
And you always fall asleep. I know. You always fall asleep. But I mean, and you also have to keep in mind that they're going to be interspersing for the next couple years anyway. House of the Dragon, then you got to figure Night of the Seven Kingdoms will come back, then House of the Dragon will come back for what should be the 4th and final season, and then who knows where we end up? Are we west of Westeros by then? That sort of thing. But all right,
pick it up. Who cares?
Come on, George. Give us something to go on. Lie to us, George. Lie to us. Give us something. But, fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Game Gone Wrong and this recap. It's going to bring us to the end of season 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And it's time for Game Gone Wrong to go back into hibernation. It's semi-annual hibernation, I guess.
So this is the end of season 2 of Game Gone Wrong, then?
I guess, sort of, sort of, yeah, sort of.
This is our season finale. This is great.
Season 3 and season 3.
We'll be back for season 3 of Game Gone Wrong with season 3 of House of the Dragon, right?
I like what you did there, Tony. This is why you get the big money. This is why your account's not suspended, because you're the smart one of us.
Tony's the only one of us that knows what he's doing.
Oh, God, I just drink a lot. Then we just gotta, I think we're gonna try and cover every episode. I don't know if we want to do a big recap episode to start in for a couple of seasons or not. But
I mean, if we wanted to do like a recap episode of, even if you wanted to do like split it into two. We can come back, a few weeks out from House of the Dragon and recap season one episode, and recap season 2 the next one, and then go right into the premiere. Of that
We can do
might
that,
not be
'cause
the
we
worst
did
of
that
ideas.
We did that with the final season of Game of Thrones because we had like our first episode of.
Well, we did all seven. We did all seven
We
seasons.
kind of
seven
just
seasons, one episode was
recap
like a
everything
3-hour
going in.
episode.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do that, but
No,
I think
no,
a
but-
two-part. I think how many is there? 8 episodes in this next season, so we could have a 10 episode season of
Yeah,
season
we
3
could
of Game
do
Gone
season
Wrong.
1 of episode season 2, and then
yeah, I
flow
think
into the
that
season from there.
that wouldn't
That's
be a bad
reasonable.
idea to do, like, House of the Dragon season 1 recap one week, House of the Dragon season 2 recap the next week, and then go straight into House of the Dragon's debut episode for season 3. I'd kind of like to remember what the hell happened myself.
Well,
so.
I will count down the weekly clock and catch one a week. I'll recatch them all before we.
I'll probably rewatch it as well, just to refresh my memory.
It's like Pokemon, gonna catch them all. All right.
It's so good. It's such a good series, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Before I was reading something before I got shut down on X.
Dave,
which-
you've seen all of House of the Dragon, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so now we've
People
all
were
seen
talk-
everything. All right.
Yeah, people were talking about. I was reading some stuff about House of the Dragon and people like being like not exactly thrilled with it, which I was like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about, but I think the show's
We're here
great.
covering this because this is something we love, and that's what we're going to talk about. How
Yeah,
much
we
love it,
don't
because it is
give a
amazing.
shit what you
All
think.
3 have been amazing. All 3, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have been. But that's going to do it for, I guess, as Tony says, for season 2 of Game Gone Wrong. Nothing really went wrong this season. Even the last episode is a little bit slow, but it was fine. It was a great way to wrap
94%
up.
on Rotten Tomatoes this season.
That's very good. That is extremely good. Let's go around the horn here and let people know, DJ, when people want to check you out, shirtless or otherwise, where can they follow you on social media?
You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Mindless Pod. You can catch myself, Rob, and Jason, part of the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We actually have an episode live right now talking Elimination Chamber, most things wrestling. You can check that out on thechairshot.com and all of your favorite podcasting platforms. I also have my own solo project I'm doing right now, part of the Mindless Podcast Productions. It is 30 Mindless Minutes. I've got a new episode of that coming out this week. I talk fitness
Thursday.
with a friend of mine.
Thursday.
Drops on Thursday. That will be, again, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms as well as thechairshot.com. Thank you, Tony.
DJ
Did
just
you-
found
did
that
you-
out when that was
Did you
when that was
Did you
dropping.
boost your stuff on Facebook, DJ? Because I keep getting the ad for 30 mindless minutes keeps coming across my feed.
I joined some, and I have no idea whether it boosts the signal or not. And actually, I don't think it does because I'm getting a lot of people scamming me, texting me. I found a bunch of podcast promotion groups on Facebook, and I just like mass spam it when I share it from Spotify.
Yeah, like Tony, that post I put the other day that you shared on X about what went wrong with my account. On Facebook, I got the shit spammed out of me with people saying, I can solve your problem for you. I'm like, I'm sure you fucking can.
Oh, every
But-
podcast promoter that can promise me thousands upon thousands of views is now messaging me on Facebook, and I'm like,
Yes.
whatever.
Just
We're
keep
on a-
podcasting shirtless, DJ. That'll get you a lot of views, buddy.
I should
We
probably start
are
doing that live.
we are not only wrestling podcasters. We're not only wrestling archivists. We're wrestling historians, and we're having an historic event this evening, in which many people believe inside the crate will be who, Dave?
It's not Chris Jericho. That's for damn sure. Don't do that. He's still under contract with AEW. They froze his contract, and it's not Chris Jericho. I don't care who's in there. I don't know.
It's Dave's Twitter account, DJ. Dave's Twitter account.
Shit,
That's the funniest thing I've said all year, and it's February 28th. Let's see if that
that's
holds.
awesome. I don't know. Who do you guys think is in the box? What's in the box? It's
Is it Dan?
it's
Is it
Brad Pitt.
Danhausen?
It's Dan.
It could be. It could be Dan
Oh,
Housen.
that
He,
is
he
so,
posted
like,
on X yesterday that he did the shackles are off thing. He
Well,
posted
Yeah,
on-
it-
yeah, he
that's
also
the more
posted-
likely.
and he posted the red herring of hey, I'm open for
I'm
bookings.
available for
Like,
bookings,
Book
yeah.
me, book me, book me. You
I
know,
saw
like,
that.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
probably
sure
Dan Housen.
I'm sure WWE
So, like,
said come with us.
That
So,
will this box thing will only be as important as the plans they have for him. Then, so we'll see what happens. If it is Jericho, that'd be really cool too. It would have made more
It's
sense
not.
with. Listen, if Jericho was coming in, it would have been at the Royal Rumble. If Jericho
Yes.
had to wait until after that for some reason it was coming in, Look how many people they've already replaced in the Elimination Chamber. They could have done a surprise there. I don't know that somebody speaking out a couple months ago wasn't talking about somebody that we're talking about. Maybe
I'm not even going to dignify Ray's response by posting that on screen. It's not Jericho, Ray. Just stop.
Do either of you guys have Punk losing the belt to Balor tonight?
No.
No.
Do either of you guys have AJ Lee beating Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship?
Yes.
Yes.
So do I. I have the rematch at Mania. Winner of the women's Elimination Chamber?
Raquel.
Rhea.
I mean
Rhea
Rhea
and
versus
Rhea and
yeah,
Jade.
Rhea and Jade is the big.
If you really, because you know what you can
Yeah.
do? Jade can win. Jade can beat Rhea at WrestleMania, and you really like Rhea's already made. Rhea's their top, like Rhea's Teflon now. You make Jade if she beats Rhea, and they have a great match.
Yeah.
I like that. I think Raquel's gotten a lot of momentum behind her. This is why I'm thinking Raquel and Jade.
Could be Tiffany.
I don't think you're not going to do
Bring it
Tiffy
back,
Jade.
give it Tiffy
I heard
back.
somebody say that they wanted Tiffy to invoke her rematch clause. I'm like, there is no rematch clause. What are you talking
No.
about?
No,
So
It's obvious,
his
you know,
best.
it's obvious Bianca's not around.
Wrestling is best when it's a kaiju fight, and there ain't a bigger kaiju fight amongst the women than Rhea Ripley
Rhea
and Jade Cargill.
right now, yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
I-
like you said, with Naomi being pregnant and Bianca still being injured, I think the original plan was probably Bianca and Jade at WrestleMania.
Yes,
You had
absolutely.
to pivot. The next big match is Rhea and Bianca, or Rhea
Rhea's got
and
Tiffy.
Jade.
yeah,
He's got
I-
Tiffy and he's got Danhausen introducing Jericho. That's awesome.
Wow,
That's funny.
Fuck. I think Rhea Jade is you need because man prices keep going down. I'm almost at the point where I got to think about going now. They're so fucking low.
So
You need a big Rhea Jade is probably the biggest market you're going to get.
What
I mean, I
about
do like
the,
Raquel because she's been the men.
yeah,
It can't be Cody Raheem Rhodes. I mean, that would just be that'd be so disappointing because we've already seen. How do you top 3 stages of hell at WrestleMania? Unless you're going to do, what are you going to do? Put Hell in the Cell at WrestleMania? Even that's not going to work. I would love to see LA Knight pull this
Yeah.
thing out and get a shot.
he
Get a
should-
shot
I
at
hope
Drew.
that Night one as champ with the belt. He should. That's how you make him even
Yeah.
bigger.
That's how you make
I called for
WrestleMania.
LA Knight on this week's
Man,
episode
what?
of the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. I was the only one that went out on a limb and called for LA Knight.
Yeah, we picked LA Knight. Actually,
Well-
you know what? We it was Andrew and I. Actually, Dan was at the dentist this week, so shout out to Andrew Belaz for coming on the DWA podcast. But I think we both thought like chalk might happen, but we did the Greg DeMarco thing of what should happen and what will happen. We kind of left
Yeah.
ourselves in out there.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. But
Any chance?
just gonna
that-
say- I'm
any
gonna
chance
say-
if it's- any chance if it's Rhea and Jade, because it could be Tiffy and Jade easily too. Because you could have the big, huge women's tag team thing that they've been doing all year, and keep Rhea out of it with EO. But anyway, any chance that Rhea and Jade would be the one that would be most likely to do it? They end up main eventing night one. I don't think so. I think Drew gets the main event.
Rhea
wants a
Jade maybe.
six-pack. Rhea wants a 6-pack challenge, to which Drew McIntyre was asked about that. What if it ends up being a multi-man match? And Drew McIntyre said, then what's the fucking point of Elimination Chamber?
I saw that, and he's right.
He's right. He's right. I mean, we saw it can be done because you saw it last year with Bianca, Rhea, and Io Sky, but they got lucky that worked out as well as it did. I thought because Io caught fire at the right time, but.
Well, and
good luck.
People have proved through WrestleMania history you don't have to have the main event to be the best match on the card.
No.
Shawn and Undertaker did not have the best. Have a
No,
main
but
event
when
match.
we
They
say
were the
main
best
event
match on the
right now,
card.
we're talking about
who closes out night 1 or 2.
Right.
But you can still go
Well,
out there and have
I will say this because people are like tuning in for Game of Thrones or House of the Night of the Seven
that's
Kingdoms.
all right.
Like, what's going on?
It's all
They
good.
don't care. We could always jump back. We could always jump back on here and do a live show, but I know Tony will be drunk by then, so that's not
You
going
know,
I
to
got
work.
shit to
we're
do.
doing it right now.
Ahead of time, yeah, ahead of time. Tell Drew to
Ray.
stop attacking.
You know what,
everybody.
Ray? Then tell yourself to come on the show right now and talk to us.
Yeah, Ray.
Deej has got to go.
Yeah. Tony, give people your social media information so that they can chirp at you when all your predictions come true tonight.
Yeah, follow me at It's Ray Cash. That's REY as in Mysterio, CASH as in dollar signs. That's right.
You brought that on yourself, Ray.
Yeah. At PC Tunney, Chairshot Radio Network, all your favorite streaming platforms, chairshot.com, prowrestlingtees.com/chairshot, attitudeofaggression.com.
Yeah. As for me, you can't follow me anywhere on X anymore, but you could check out the website, attitudeofaggression.com, and the YouTube channel is still going. And if I ever get the X account back, I'll let you guys know. But I'm not holding my breath, so thanks, Elon. You guys are great. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Game Gone Wrong. We will be back probably around sometime in May, I'm guessing, based on what we've discussed here, to give a brief recap of seasons 1 and 2 of House of the Dragon, and then we will pick things back up there for our weekly coverage of House of the Dragon in a few months from now. But until then, you've been listening to Game Gone Wrong, and hope you guys have enjoyed season 1, and we will see you guys pretty soon for House of the Dragon and the return of Game Gone Wrong.